Dude, Saiyan Salamander here, and welcome to the next edition of Outrealm Heroes, where this time I talk about what characters from the world of Avatar The Last Airbender would look like if they were added into Fae. If you've seen any of the other Outrealm Heroes videos that I make, you'll know that in this series I talk about the 4 banner units and the Tempest Trials to go alongside the banner. Now without further ado, let's jump into the first hero. I can't make an Avatar crossover banner without the Avatar himself, right? So the first unit on this list will be the Last Airbender, Aang. But that's not all. This time I decided to make a duo hero consisting of Aang and Momo. So Aang was probably the hardest hero to transfer into the Fae universe so far. I tried to pack so much of his abilities and his world into his character that it took me weeks to complete his skill set. So I knew I wasn't going to make Momo and Appa playable heroes, but I still wanted to reference them somehow. So I decided to make Aang a flying unit with Appa as a mount, and then added Momo as Aang's duo partner. Since wind is usually associated to green magic, I made Aang a green mage flyer, with a weapon I call Nomad's Glider. It gives Aang an extra +3 speed and accelerated special cooldown. I also gave him a damage reduction skill like Close Call and Spurn, but with a slight nerf. It can still reduce up to 40% damage, but it doesn't have an extra movement skill like Close Call or deal more damage like Spurn. For his other skills, I gave Aang Aegis, Attack Speed Push 4, Attack Speed Rain, and a new exclusive skill. The exclusive skill is called Avatar State. It gives Aang Triangle Adept advantage over all colours, as long as he's over 50% HP, though he has Triangle Disadvantage if he's below 50% HP. I made this skill in order to reference the double-edged sword nature of the Avatar State. As the master of all 4 elements, he has advantages over all colours, however he's extremely vulnerable in the Avatar State, which is why I gave him disadvantage when he's low on health to reference this, and make sure he isn't too broken. As for the duo skill, I tried to reference Aang's pacifistic nature by making it more of a defensive skill, granting Aang and his allies +8 to their defense and resistance, as well as neutralizing the foe's bonuses during combat. Overall, Aang is an incredibly speedy unit, and though the rest of his skills are mediocre, his skills in duo skill more than compensate for these lack of stats, making him a unique but incredible green mage flyer. Next up on Team Avatar banner is the waterbending master herself, appearing as a blue mage infantry unit, Katara. A lot of the time water magic can be any colour really, since the only time we see it is typically with summer alts. Though ice magic is fairly common as blue magic, and since ice bending is an aspect of waterbending, I figured being a blue mage suited Katara well. Her weapon is called the Water Whip. Like Aang's glider, it accelerates Katara's special cooldown, though it gives her +3 attack instead of +3 speed. Because Katara's waterbending allows her to heal herself and others, I wanted to reference this in her weapon, by giving her a Halloween Grimmer effect of restoring 30% of the unit's maximum HP when her special activates, as long as she's within 2 spaces of an ally. She also has close counter built into her weapon, because her waterbending's kinda mid-range, so she can attack enemies close by or from a distance with it. Since Halloween and Grimmer could also counter-attack at any distance, I figured the skill would be good for Katara as well. As for the rest of Katara's skills, I gave her Iceberg and Chill Res Speed 2 because of her ice bending, Breath of Life 3 to further reference her healing capabilities, and finally Fury 4 because of Katara's quick temper. Katara's got a really good attack, pretty good speed and res, but fairly low defense and HP. But I gave her a super boon in defense, speed and HP, but a super bane in attack and res. I also forgot to say this earlier, but Aang has a super boon in attack, but a super bane in HP. Overall, I think I managed to reference all of Katara's pretty well as turn her into a great unit in Fae that can eliminate foes while healing her up herself and her ally units too. So, this unit is one of my favourite characters in Avatar, and was also the most fun unit to come up with on this list, as well as the unit that was the quickest for me to come up with an idea for. It's the Blind Bandit herself, Toph. Weak colourless magic is based on the Earth, with magic like Stone and Atlas, so I figured making Toph a colourless infantry mage would be a great fit for her, and her earthbending. I was also thinking of making her use of metal bending, but maybe another time if I make some alt costumes for Team Avatar later down the line. The whole concept of Toph's weapon, Seismic Shock, was made to reference her being blind and how she can see with her feet. She gets an accelerated special cooldown, and it makes Toph effective against all units, except flying units. However, all flying units are effective against Toph. I don't think it's broken at all, since there's a fair few units with dual effectiveness weapons, and while Toph's weapon is a triple effective, it does make her super weak to the final movement type, flying. Also, if Toph's in combat with a non-flying unit, Toph gains +3 to all stats, and counterattacks first regardless of a foe's range. However, in combat against a flying enemy, Toph gets -3 to all stats. She can't make up a follow attack, and the foe can make a follow-up attack before Toph can counterattack. There's no dodging in Fae, but I figured this referenced how she could see enemies' attacks coming by seeing their movements with her feet, which is why she gets all these bonuses against grounded enemies. However, Toph can't use her seismic sense in the air, so she is literally blind to any flying foe, which is why she's so weak when in combat against an enemy of that movement type. Since earthbending is a sturdy, patient element, I decided to make her more of an enemy phase unit than a player phase one. Toph gets repositioned, bracing stance, special spiral, and distant guard free. All she needs is a good special like Ignis or Aether, and she's good to go really. All of her stats are great, except her speed stat. She can also get even more points in attack and defense with her super boons in both stats, and her speed is literally a dump stat with her super bane, so there's no real reason to try and save that stat. Overall, Toph is an interesting and deadly unit when up against the right unit. Though if she ever runs into a Fire Emblem team, she might as well call it quits right there. I might have gone a bit too crazy with the weapon, but I'm hoping it ended up being somewhat balanced in the end. Maybe? Who knows? This next character was an interesting one, since it wasn't as simple as picking a mage colour and calling it a day. The next character is the only non-bender of the banner. He's the Southern Warrior, Sokka. Sokka's used many weapons across the series. There's his saber-tooth lance he's used for fishing, his dagger for sensing vibrations in the environment, as well as his signature club and boomerang. But for Faye, I decided to give him the space sword that he forged in Book 3. The sword gives him +3 resistance, and to reference how he grew into a leader throughout the series, I gave him an inbuilt order skill, combining air orders and ground orders together. Two skills an infantry sword unit like Sokka wouldn't typically be able to learn. As for his other skills, I decided to give him Rally Attack, Panic Ploy, and I finally decided to demote our dual infantry into the 4-star summoning pool. So you don't need a Summer Hellbendy to learn the skill. Oh, by the way, Sokka's the demote unit of this banner, and he can learn this skill at 4-star rarity. Sokka's often got confidence issues about being the weakest of the group, so I figured it would make sense for him to be the demote unit this time around. Besides, while he's in a highly competitive class, I think he's got the uniqueness to stand out amongst other sword infantry units. Sokka has the highest HP out of any infantry sword unit with 48 HP, and the rest of his stats are fairly solid all around. His one weakness lies in his attack stat though, to reference how he isn't as strong as the rest of Team Avatar with their bending battle prowess. Sokka also has a super boon in HP and speed, but a super bane in attack and resistance. Though thanks to being a 4-star unit, he's pretty easy to merge up, so any bane that he does have can easily be fixed up. Whether it's in Avatar or Fae, Sokka has grown into a great leader who can show his allies to the path to victory by allowing them to teleport to their comrades within 2 spaces away, and is a great fit for skills like Sudden Panic and Infantry Pulse too. As for the Tempest Trials, I decided to name it Finding One's Honor, and by the name of the new trials, I think you can guess who the free reward unit is. But first, let's talk about the 2 new S-Seals that will get released with the banner. I decided to give out Speed Defense Oath as the 10,000 point reward, and the 20,000 point reward is Fury Free, since I figured these 2 skills represented the 2 sides of this character's personality across the series. Enough stalling though. The free Tempest Trial unit to go alongside the Team Avatar banner is the Exiled Prince, Zuko. In Fae, Fire Magic is typically used by Red Mages, and since Zuko's a Firebender, I made him an Infantry Red Mage in Fae. In Book 3, Zuko and Aang learned an ancient firebending form known as the Dancing Dragon, so that's why I decided to name his weapon in Fae. It grants Zuko +3 speed, and has a pretty interesting effect. Firebending is more powerful in the day, while waterbending is more powerful at night, so I decided to reference this by making Zuko a player phase unit, making the player phase the day, and the enemy phase the night. On the player phase, Zuko is effective against blue units, though blue units are effective against him on the enemy phases. Also on the player phase, Zuko gets a +4 to all stats, and prevents the foe from making a follow-up attack. The rest of Zuko's skills don't combine well with each other, but there's a good reason for that. At the start of the series, Zuko is desperately trying to find his honor, and tends to push away anyone who tries to show him the right path. So for that reason, I gave him Rouse Attack Speed 3, whereas at the end of the series, he finally finds himself and forms bonds with the rest of Team Avatar, and begins to help them with their goal. So for that reason, I gave him Attack Speed Bond 3. Like I said before, these skills don't combo well with each other in the slightest, but I thought they reference both sides of his character really well. I also gave him Dragon Fang because of his high attack stat and based on his firebending style. Zuko has a really high attack, decent speed and HP, and fairly low defense and resistance. Zuko also has a super boon in speed, but a super bane in HP. Overall, he's a great player phase unit, though he definitely needs a lot of investment in his base kit in order for the prince to really shine. That's all for now, so I hope you enjoyed the video, my dudes. This was definitely the most challenging episode of Outrealm Heroes to create so far, so I'm hoping I managed to do all the characters justice. If you enjoyed, please leave a like on the video, subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and comment below on how you would make Team Avatar in Fae, as well as what other series you'd like me to cover in the future. I also do a bunch of live playthroughs of games over on Twitch, so if you're interested, check out my channel, which will be linked in the description below. I think that just about covers everything, so I'll see you next time, my dudes. Bye.